So, with Mike's 3 decades of experience in investing, one question came into my mind: what would he do if he started investing today? So, because the market is so different, it's very different. There's many more options, there's many more opportunities. So, to start off with, Mike, what kind of opportunities do you see that today's world have that when you started didn't exist?
Oh my gosh, there are so many more opportunities. And one that I would go back 30 years in time and tell my younger self is when you read or follow what some of your favorite investing gurus are doing and you're not getting the same results that they are publishing, start asking right away why. Don't assume it's something that you're doing wrong. And that was a mistake I made early, was thinking I could get the same results as these people on TV. And what I had not understood at that time was they're buying at a different time than I am, and they're not all of them are being truthful about their returns either. So one opportunity we have with so much more information so readily available on the internet is it's really easy to check out somebody's track record and see what their real returns are. Super important to do that before you decide who you want to follow. Another great opportunity that didn't exist back then was ETFs, exchange traded funds. If you are in a situation as I was 30 years ago, saying, well, I've got like an extra $20 a week left over from my paycheck after I pay for everything. Um, Back then, it was a little bit harder to get started because you had to build up a nest egg of around $2,000 before you could really go buy stocks in your own. And that was because of commissions and fees and all the things. But now, ETFs just don't exist. So for as little as a couple of bucks, you can buy shares in an ETF, which is something that lets you get started with low cost. And that's an advantage that many people didn't have 30 years ago. Those are two things. Something that has not changed, that is always an investor's advantage, is to understand that your personal political beliefs, your personal emotions will cloud your judgment. We all have this problem, and we all benefit from stepping back and trying as much as possible to look at an investment objectively. The classic example, President Obama was running for his second term in office, and he swore he was going to close down all the coal industry. He was going to kill the coal industry. Nobody was going to make coal or mine coal. And I, like many other investors, was stupid enough to not invest in coal mining companies. Smart investors said, but there's coal all over the world. It's not just in the United States, and President Obama can't shut down another country's coal mines. Smart investors went and bought shares, Chinese coal, European coal, Russian coal. You get the idea. This is regardless whether you like coal or not. This is an example where there was an opportunity to make money in stocks, but not many people saw it. And the ones that saw it came out very well. And this is something that hasn't changed in the 30 years I've been investing. It hasn't changed the last couple hundred years. There are opportunities popping up all the time for those who are willing to pay attention. So the question is, how do you pay attention?
Yes, exactly. Very good question, Mike. How do you pay attention?
It doesn't
And
help.
where to pay attention, I think, is even a better question, actually.
Yeah, see, it doesn't help to look at somebody that's already made a ton of money doing something and say, I'm going to copy that, because the money's been made. What does help is to follow that same person and say, how did they do that? How did they see that opportunity? And kind of a fun thing about the investing world, most of the very successful investors that I know spend a lot of time on their own reading through tons and tons and tons of data and reports and all kinds of stuff. So most of us are pretty happy if somebody actually managed to get through our gatekeeper and say, hey, I want to talk to you for a few minutes and your thoughts. So if there's some investor you really like what they're doing, reach out to them. And when you talk to their gatekeeper, say, hey, I'm starting investing with $75 and I don't know anything. And I've been following this guy or this girl for a while. And I mean, tell the truth. As many times the gatekeeper is going to put you through because they know that their boss gets energy from these kinds of calls. So that's one way to look. Another place to look is whatever the media is talking about, you go look at the other side of that. So if the media says, well, stocks are at an all-time high this week, well, flip that around and ask yourself, okay, so that doesn't mean they're not going to keep going up. What has propelled them to this high? That's the question to ask, and start digging into the underlying fundamental reasons. Why are they this high? And all-time high doesn't necessarily mean anything by itself, because if we'll just take the S&P 500 index as an example. If its level last week was at X and today it's at X plus 2%, yes, right today it's at an all-time high, but it's only up 2%. Is that really a big shift? So yeah, whatever the media says, you look under the rocks, you start turning things over, you look behind the curtain, you just start poking. And like with professional investors, financial media reporters also spend a bunch of time in front of a screen, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of them. Say, hey, you did this report, and I was really curious about blah, blah, blah. Just ask them the question.
So ask questions. And where to
Definitely ask questions. And always ask yourself, am I emotional about this? I ask myself that question with every potential investment. Am I emotional about this? If the answer is yes, in my case, I put a yellow flag on that particular folder and I say, I need to come back to this in a day or three when I try to get some less emotional thinking. Those emotions can come from a lot of sources. Most of us are passionate about some cause that we really are in love with, and we think the rest of the world should be just as passionate. That's not a good factor in deciding if an investment is going to make money for us. So try to separate your emotions as much as you can. And this is another reason you ask where to get ideas. Don't get ideas from the cocktail party, from your wife's cousin's brother's dog, cat. Yeah, I mean, we've all heard these stories. And the financial industry has some people in it who are less than honest. And these people will play on those emotions. They will say, well, Joey really liked his financial person, so that person must know something. It's like, no, those are unrelated statements. Joey likes his financial person is a statement. Fine. That's an emotional comment about Joey's opinion. The conclusion that the finance guy must know something is not follow. That's not necessarily true. Another thing that we see a lot that we didn't see 30 years ago was gender-based investing, which makes no sense. Women should do this. Men should do that. Third gender should do this. Like, no. Your investing should always be based on your goals. What do you want that money to be able to do for you? And at what time period do you want to use it? That's the foundation.
So how do you do that? Because everybody says do this, do that. How do you do it? Like, how do you actually sit down and make a plan so you can go in and pick the right investments?
Actually doing it right now for myself. We're transitioning to a new phase. My wife and I are transitioning to a new phase at our advanced stage. It's like, okay, I want to be able to pay for my medical insurance. I need to make these payments at these time period over this span of year, expected lifespan of years. Then I take my lifespan and I add another 10 years. So in my calculation, I'm figuring I'm living to 107. So that way I don't run out of medical insurance money. I'll never run out. And then say, okay, what's a good lower risk investment that I can draw monthly draws to pay those insurance bills every month? Those insurance premiums.
107 is very big numbers for me sitting here. I'm like 107. That's many decades.
You pick a time period that's longer than you actually need. is one thing that helps everybody. For shorter term, in my younger years, I said, well, I want to be able to buy this Formula 400 Pontiac. It was an awesome car. I need this thing. So getting emotional, right? Which was a mistake.
Did you get
I
it?
said, all right, I did. And I didn't buy, I knew I wanted a used one. I didn't want to buy a new one, but I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to cost me to get a used one. And this is what it's probably going to cost me in repairs because no used cars are perfect. So I said, okay, well, that's the money. I need that amount of money and I want to buy it by this date. What should I be invested in that my money will grow to the point where then I have that set? And once I hit that number of money, I took that out and bought the car. So this is part of how you do it. When you have a goal and a time frame, then you find investments that support that goal. When you get there, spend the money because psychologically you just achieved a goal that you were after. If you don't spend it and you hang on to it, that creates a different psychology in your mind. And you get into kind of this desperation mindset where you're always trying to grow the capital instead of using it for stuff.
Yeah, because when I hear people talk about what happens in 107, my case would be like 7 decades, 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck does the world look like in 70 years? No clue.
Yeah, exactly.
I have absolutely no idea what's gonna. I don't have absolutely no idea. Am I gonna live in Denmark? Are we still going to have free healthcare? Like, when it comes to like long-term investments, how do you actually calculate in that uncertainty?
You make assumptions based on history because we don't have a crystal ball. No one does. No one can predict accurately what the future is going to hold. But we know historical trends that have held true over time. We know that governments, no matter what kind of government it is, governments very rarely do things that are a great benefit to people over time. Governments tend to, over time, try to exert more and more control, not produce more and more freedom. So, okay, so that's one trend. We say, all right, well, at some point, the United States Congress is probably going to try to come after people's retirement accounts. They've done it before. They're probably going to try that again. So where's some places I could put some of my money that wouldn't be in those types of accounts that they're likely to go after? That's one question. Another question is population changes. We've seen that in the United States in the last 9 years. We've seen 1 out of every 10 people in the United States now is here illegally. They've come against immigration law. So that's a big population change. What does that mean for investors? So you would ask those questions. It's like, does that mean more people coming to start businesses? Does that mean more people coming to consume things? Does it mean higher bills for things like Social Security and welfare? Does it mean lower bills? We ask all these questions. So part of it is asking based on historical trend. Now, specific to stocks, there have been stock exchanges that we know of going all the way back to Roman times. And the modern iteration of that really started in the 1500s. And stock exchanges have not changed that much over time. It's still a system in many countries around the world where people that need to get money to grow their business go to sell shares in the business, and other people buy those shares. And that's how companies raise money. That's not going to change.
No, if you bet on capitalism, then the stock exchange is going to be there. That's not.
Oh, yeah.
If capitalism is going to be a part of what you see happening in 100 years, then yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go stocks, because it's the basic principle of it's a basic principle of capitalism is stocks.
Yeah, and that'll never go away. Even when you look at a very hardcore communist country like China, China has a stock exchange and it operates in a very capitalist fashion because it has to. So this is why you don't really want to let politics affect your investing, because There's always going to be people that need to raise money to keep their businesses going. And there's always going to be people that are willing to buy and sell those shares. It may look a little different, but it's still going to be there. So this is why I have confidence in staying invested, because I know over time, whatever other changes happen, if I own a piece of several companies, those companies are going to find ways to adapt to whatever comes. So these are all things that help. Don't get too hung up on dystopian future novels and dystopian movies and all this stuff. Remember, we've had cataclysmic events in the world. We've had things that just seem like the whole world was ending, but people adapt. New enterprises come forward, new companies get formed. And as a kind of a fun thing to think about, a long time ago, a movie called Terminator came out with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was about Skynet was this corporation that eventually was taken over by artificial intelligence. So it was robots building robots. They discovered time travel, and they went back to wipe out the human race, et cetera, et cetera. Well, today there is an actual company you can buy shares in called Skynet that's working in artificial intelligence. They named it as a joke, but that's what they're working on. So pay attention to these kinds of things and think, well, what if they did achieve that goal to make these super smart machines? Where would I want to be in that situation? This is where you can let your emotions have fun and have free reign in the what if questions.
I would prefer to be on Mars.
Yeah.
Far away from the robots.
Sure. Until you run out of water. So this is an interesting thing with the Mars missions. We already have, in theory, patented lab-built ways of extracting and producing water from.
You're getting off subject, mate.
I'm always getting off subject. So this is part of the fun of investing, is letting your brain have this free reign time and getting off topic sometimes.
Well, that's what you ask yourself.
Don't let that drive your decisions.
Yeah. It's a good place to ask yourself those questions we talked about.
Yeah, because your brain needs free reign. But exactly. When you go to actually buy a stock, that free reign shouldn't be happening. That should have been already out of your system.
So what I'm kind of getting when it comes to long-term investing, we're basically playing a game we don't know the ending to.
Yeah. You are playing a chess match, and it's long-term, and every time that a stock is bought, there's also somebody selling that same stock that has the opposite opinion. And you're dealing with lots of human beings. So yes, there's a great deal of uncertainty.
So it's betting on the things that we believe is going to exist in very many years when it comes to retirement. To me, there's only one answer, but since I'm not a financial expert, I won't say it. There is probably a hint of our latest videos. You will figure that much out. One thing I want us to go into our next video is, because this idea got brought up when you talked about the Pontiac. I thought it would make good sense to kind of, for the young person that kind of needs that motivation to actually get into stocks and investing. Because one of the things I really want to do is buy an old Land Rover Defender. They're about 15, 20 grand. And probably the same in expected repairs over the next year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're doing it a little bit. Well, I thought, let's make a video where we actually go in and discuss how do I actually set up a plan to achieve that goal by investing. So tune in next week for that. And
we'll do that for you guys. If you have any questions,
a playlist right on my head with all the podcasts. When it's been released, if you're watching this a week from now, click on that, then the video should be there. Join our Telegram group as well.